I'm calling to order the September 12th, 2024 meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee in Concord. I will, let's see if we have a quorum yet. We don't have, we don't have a quorum yet, do we?
We don't?
No.
One,
We're
two,
waiting.
three, us three. Oh, this is
Dan said he was coming.
Oh,
Laura
there he is.
and Dan is here.
There he is.
Okay, so we need one more for a quorum.
Sorry about that.
Traffic.
No, I had an emergency vet visit this morning.
Oh.
Yeah, Benji has pneumonia for something.
Oh, my
What
God.
brings the dog or cat?
Dog, a very active dog who looked at me this morning, miserable.
Yeah. I don't feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, he was coughing.
Oh.
So, but they were waiting for us at the vet's office, so it was great. Was it the
Does he,
Concord vet?
does he go to doggy daycare or anything?
No. So,
Remember the Concord
So
Animal Hospital?
apologies, everybody, we're waiting for a quorum. Fully,
Who we need is
Bill,
Bill.
Phil is not coming, he's traveling.
Okay.
Laura had a child care
Oh.
issue, but I assume that Nick and
Nick, okay.
Mariana would be here.
Can we
Let
text
me
them?
let me just text it.
who are you?
I am good. I feel like I'm a adult. I'm sitting at the table.
Well, you have-
Over there going, hi.
Oh.
What do you say? Yeah. Yeah, I have a cat who has, taking its medication. I was like, cats, I don't want
Oh.
to eat my heart medication.
Oh, Marianne is online.
Okay,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
okay, wonderful. Okay, so we have I'll send
Oh, perfect.
Nick a note anyway. Okay, so I will call the September 12th, 2024 meeting of Concord Transportation Advisory Committee to order and start with a roll call. Start with our newest member, Ellen Quackenbush.
Here.
Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you.
Dan here, and Mariana.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Phil and Laura told me they couldn't make it. I have no reason to believe that Nick Pappas will not join us. He's going to join remotely in a minute, he says.
Oh, perfect.
All right. So would anyone like to offer to take the minutes for today's meeting? So we kind of catch up, can do it from the recording later or as things go.
I will do that up from the recording later.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it very much. Okay. So first item on the agenda is to approve minutes, and we have a set of minutes that Laura prepared, draft minutes for the August 1st meeting. I think I've got corrected Dan's name, spelling of his last name correctly.
Oh, yeah, SCH.
It's SCHRAGER, right?
Yeah, the one I have just shows SCR.
Okay, so anyway, the latest, well, okay, we'll make sure it's right. I think the one that's posted is right. And if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
You know, I'll
of-
second that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's our,
Alan? Yes, yea, nay?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Dan?
yes.
Mariana? Do you approve the minutes?
Sorry, yep.
Yeah, and myself, yes. And I think that's all the members currently on board. Okay, so that's done. Then for the chair's report, kind of brief, one thing important is that tonight in the big room in the townhouse and by Zoom, there's the MCI Concord public hearing and info session.
Info
That's-
session.
Info session. Well, believe it or not, on the website, it says,
Public hearing,
well,
public forum.
I don't know, public, yeah, it probably
Public
is not,
forum.
public forum,
Okay.
let's say, at least they'll talk about MCI Concord at 7 PM tonight, second floor in the townhouse and then on Zoom, and that should be pretty interesting. One of the things that's been taking place is outreach to other committees. Nick Pappas has done some outreach to the planning board, and we have liaison Pat Nelson from the planning board kind of keeping an eye on us and seeing what we're up to. Ellen has agreed to go to the, I believe it's on 9/23 Climate Action Committee
Yeah.
meeting, and kind of present to them, run by them our transportation mobility vision document and get input, answer questions, etc. Nick has reached out to the Economic Vitality Committee, and I'm signed up to visit them at their 8:30 a.m. Meeting on the 25th of this month. I've spoken with the chair of the Public Works Commission about coming to one of their meetings and just kind of cluing them in on what we're doing. And I'm going to reach out to Commission on Disability and the Council on Aging too, just so we can kind of all be following each other's work and needs and things. Phil,
Nick's on board.
okay, welcome, Nick.
Hi, sorry, apologies.
Okay, we're in the, we had a quorum, fortunately. Now we have 5, so it's even better.
One question for clarification. We're now definitely on a 3-week schedule because that was it. It didn't get on my calendar because I wasn't clear that we had committed to
Oh.
that.
I believe we're still on the 3-week schedule that was
3 week,
originally
okay.
posted, yeah. Yeah, there hasn't been any change. Yeah.
Okay.
Phil said he couldn't come, but I asked him if he had any general comments he wanted to make, and he sent me a note where he said his main concern is keeping the ball moving forward on the study and being responsive to the select board's request for that. He also and being prepared to support the DPW's 2026 budget request, which will include an authorization to, for bonding to catch up on road infrastructure maintenance. Another thing he asked, which I don't know if it's easy to do quickly or not, he asked whether Elizabeth might give an update at some point on the MassDOT Signs and Lines grant application process, which follows a walk audit conducted last spring. And then he finally also says that the SRTS Bike to School Day will be as followed: 10-9 Thoreau School, 10-16 Willard School, and Alcott School to be determined. They're collaborative of the school, the Bike to School Concord Group, the parent teacher group for each school, the Concord Police Department, Public Library, and MassDOT SRTS. So that's 10-9 Thoreau, 10-16 Willard, and Alcott to be determined. So I don't, do you have any information, Elizabeth, about MassDOT Signs and Lines grant application? I'm not, he says process, so please.
So the town did last year, submitted a Safe Routes to School request to do a walk audit for the Thoreau School, and that was completed, and it basically goes through and audits, you know, sidewalks, crossings, signs, lines, where improvements can be made to improve a safer route to school. Last week, the next step after that is, it's called a through Safe Routes to School. It's a Signs and Lines program where the MassDOT team actually develops plans and specifications to do improvements through signage, striping, and all of that. And there's a grant program where they have their MassDOT teams and transportation engineers go through and, develop all of that. And part of the application that goes with that would be this walk audit. And then last week we just got, it's a student radius map. So Safe Routes to School worked with the principal for Thoreau and did a student radius map where the students live in relationship to proximity to school and where definitely, this is students that can walk. This is, the half-mile students that can walk, but beyond this, it's definitely busing, and that helps. The component of that program, and this is where the question comes, working with Public Works, is you file for this grant to have these drawings and specifications done, then the town's responsible to implement those.
Mhm.
So again, that's a roads program funding mechanism, and but the town does have every year annually, striping lines and crosswalks, and so it's just gonna be coordinating with Public Works on here's the walk audit, here's what we think is gonna be the top end construction side of implementing these things. Cause I don't wanna file for a grant and have something done that can't be implemented. So the signs and lines grants are due, I think, October 4th.
Mhm.
So, that's 3 weeks away. That's
Yeah, no.
that's a long time.
Oh, my God.
So the application process itself for the grant is very simple.
Mhm.
So right now it's pulling together that information with the student radius map
Do you
and
have any
coordinating.
concerns
with the
about do you have any, sorry, do you have any concerns about the ability of the DPW to implement? Or it's not, is it a lot of cost or
that's
that you don't know?
that's beyond my expertise as a planner.
Okay.
Got it.
But
But-
the same issue, is it an issue of funding that we have to come up with the funding, or is it an issue of priorities, or what is it exactly?
I'm fairly certain we have to come up with the funding to construct.
Okay, so that.
Okay, so the grant is only for the design.
I
Right.
believe so.
Something, okay,
Got it.
okay.
Okay.
It would be
Got
good if you find out more detail on that, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
And that radius map, I think, would be, for students, would be something interesting. The distances to schools would be an interesting piece of information.
Do
It's-
they
So I
already, do
need-
they
I
already,
need
do
to-
they have do they have an existing set of design standards for that sort of thing? Like, for instance, that there would be bump outs or something else, or,
So signs and lines would not be bump outs.
okay,
It truly is what can be improved with signage, with striping, and those types of things.
okay,
As
no
far as
construction, okay, no construction,
Not physical construction in that manner, no.
okay.
And as far as the student radius map, I need to check with the
Yeah,
principal.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
I
not-
assume it's anonymized, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, please check.
I'd have.
Yeah.
The dot locations are pretty
Oh.
specific in my
Oh,
mind, so I'm not.
I thought it was more of
Yeah.
a assembly of, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
and if
I'm
there is
not
an
sure it's a-
assembly of things.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a public document, so
Okay.
I will check.
Understood, I can understand the sensitivity of that, that's important. Okay, the next, that finishes Chair's report and associated discussion. And I've already given a brief update on outreach to other committees. The fourth item on the agenda is brief first review of a draft of a TAC public transit vision document. And Nick prepared this and it's been posted and distributed to people. Another copy. What we can do with this is, if we can fine tune it or change it if anybody has a desire to do that. But we can also potentially just vote on it as a first cut at this. And then it can also be utilized in our outreach to other committees and people in terms of seeing what they agree with as priorities and not. There are things that concern sustainability and climate change mitigation. There are things that concern economic vitality and inclusion of people who are not able to drive for one reason or another. And so, and eventually this has to move into things like funding models. So getting encouraging a broader discussion would be very helpful, I think, and, if, members are agreed, I would entertain a motion to approve this as sort of preliminary set of thoughts that we can use for outreach and sharing. Yes, Elizabeth?
My, only two suggestions would be, first one, I'll take this and put this on, TAC has, we have a consistent letterhead that we use
Of course,
while planning, so I'll
Yes,
put it on your
sure.
letterhead.
okay,
But, you may, your next round, you may want to just develop a 2-sentence kind of like purpose.
okay,
You know, what, so taking this and handing this,
yes.
To
I
other
understand.
groups,
Yeah,
it's
where does
like-
this come from?
yeah, you know. So just, you know, how we got to this, or
Okay.
why we got to this.
Nick, would you volunteer?
I'll do that, yeah.
to Write us purpose at the top for this document and then give it to Elizabeth for formatting and then
Yeah.
can be posted and we can,
And then
Yeah,
just one
I'll
other
do that
question.
I'll do that by this weekend.
And then the one other question is just a formatting question. Nick, in the second set under desirable characteristics, there's a line of bullets and then there's an inset line of bullets. Is that just a formatting?
It was intentional,
Okay,
to
it was
give
intentional, okay.
examples of intermodal connections. The trouble is people throw around the term intermodal and it's not very well defined when they do. And so I was just trying to make the point that in terms of intermodality, it's really the connections that we're concerned about. How do you get from a car to a walk? How do you get from a car to public transit?
Okay, so for just formatting reasons, because when you hand a document like this off to other people to, I would probably, you know, number these sections, you know, letter the bullets and then that offset.
That's fine.
Have it,
yes.
somebody says, oh, well, you know, item 2C is, and it just,
Right.
Yeah, that will.
Right, no, that's good. I'm sort of, I'm not great with Word and.
No
especially when it
worries.
gets to the that sort of indenting, I'm sort of lost
No,
about.
but-
the
perfect.
But
choices.
thanks, Nick, for carrying the banner forward on this because there are so many advantages, I think, and so many aspects and things that people don't think of right away. It's something very important to get out. Thank you, Elizabeth, for
Yeah.
those.
Let me talk for a second about that sentence or two explanation. I think I'm thinking of writing something along the lines of this being an attempt to align the direction for what we're doing in this committee with the other initiatives in Concord or other committees, the work of other committees and departments in Concord by identifying common benefits and whatever, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that either we could do or when we reach out to people, they can sort of say, these check boxes for us or something like that on our work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea, Nick, because I think if other committees, and I'm thinking of climate action, sustainability, might have a note they want to add in the purpose.
Sure, and
To let people really, as Elizabeth saying, focus on what we're trying to do and what the actions might be.
so I would entertain a motion to approve this document with Elizabeth's suggestions and after Nick adds a purpose to the top. Anybody move?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I second.
second, okay, Dan,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Nick,
All right.
Mariana,
Aye.
and myself, I. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item on the agenda is a status update and discussion, the transportation mobility study, Stantec statement of work and highest priority deliveries. So I received I've spoken to various staff and I've received an update from Steve Dukron. He said, in order to get started on the asset management for the road and sidewalk network to help with the capital planning for fiscal year 2026, Stantec has been directed to proceed with that task immediately under their remaining budget. We have provided Stantec with the current condition survey of the street pavements so they can begin their analysis. Stantec will also mobilized to conduct a field survey of sidewalks to gather data.
Oh.
The revisions to the study scope are not in their final form. There has been considerable back and forth to get the changes in place and settle on the additional costs. These, together with additional work that includes asset management for the roads and sidewalk network, are costing more, and staff had made a request for ARPA funds. It does not appear that ARPA funds are recommended for the additional work, so staff is trying to identify other sources. However, ARPA funding for the evaluation by consultant of the Route 2 study has been identified by the town manager and is supported by the select board. So the separate item of having a consultant on behalf of the town look at the Route 2 study from MassDOT and BHP, that has been supported and found funding from ARPA. I also know that the senior staff involved in managing is going to be meeting later this morning to try to keep the ball rolling and sort out any remaining needs to keep the momentum going. Does any TAC member have a comment or a question about this? No. Okay, so. That. Okay, all right, so the next item on the agenda is a discussion on signage and safety at Junction Park in West Concord Village Center. And let me just make a couple introductory comments, and then I would ask Elizabeth to fill us in on some of the origin of this. Well, there's been a request for a signage change, and there's a lot of opinions, and I've heard from a lot of people different things about this. One aspect of this that I want TAC members to consider is, what, if any, is TAC's role. We're an advisory body. We don't, to the town manager and the select board, we don't have, power to say, change this sign or rearrange things in any particular location. However, I think one of our functions can be to in a place where four modes of transportation, rail, pedestrian, bicycle, and motor vehicle, are all either crossing or operating in close vicinity, and there are been expressed safety concerns and accidents and things like that. It's maybe appropriate for us to provide a forum for the TAC members on behalf of the public and for the public directly to present their, current concerns and kind of look at what the current different people see about the current configurations and situations, so that we kind of know what the status quo is. So does anybody on TAC feel that we should not consider this? No? Okay. All right, Nick, do you have reservations? Are you gonna, do you have a suggestion about scope or angle? I think this is an important point. The public needs to know that it's not like, well, TAC is gonna fix everything or whatever. We can't do that.
Yeah, I just think the situation and the confluence of individuals and interests in that space is so complicated that I'm not optimistic that
Yeah.
that there is a solution that will be universally applauded.
Okay, well, yeah, I agree, but I don't think we should be afraid of at least attempting clarification or a better communication, or I mean, there may be things that I've heard some people say, oh, those people won't be satisfied with anything, and I don't think that's
No.
the right way to approach things, So Elizabeth,
Yes.
I would like to give you the floor to give us some more background and information.
Sure, just, I mean, there's the minute the rail trail opened, there's been conversations about Junction Park. And there's been actually, quite a bit of public conversation, whether it was before the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee got disbanded, and there were different public workshops and different, short and long-term, options discussed and presented, and right before Marcia left, a short-term option and, a long-term, option kind of rose to the top. I agree with Nick a tad, that, not everybody's gonna be 100% happy. And that's never my role. My role is to guide the community, find consensus. And consensus means everybody is not 100% happy, but everybody's at least happy enough with the outcome and, come to an agreement that it's like, okay, we all kind of understand, we're not all gonna get 100%, but you know what, this is something that we can compromise on and come to a consensus on that compromise. And that's kind of where Marcia got, on the concepts of short-term and long-term. Long-term, the idea of a split path. At this point in time, there's no set design, there's no, until I can get a conversation with MBTA. Because it is going to require, change in, the right of way. It could potentially, require change, to the, a little bit of the parking. There was one option where I think 1 foot of the adjacent parking would need to be examined. And so, until I can get MBTA saying, yeah, we'll be part of that conversation and, and be part of, finding a solution. When that happens, the select board town manager will be some of the first people to know. So that's where I'm at. I have now spent 2 months trying to get that connection. I now have another angle, which I think is gonna work. So I'm hopeful. There was a consensus on a short-term solution, and that dealt with the planters. That
Well, there was a consensus, it should be tried, right?
there was a consensus it should be tried. And that trial failed miserably. So the planters aren't there. I see tax roll at this point. I do not feel there was a good consensus for a concept for signage,
Mhm.
which right now I think can be a short-term, solution to address some of the concerns and safety concerns and issues with, appropriate signage. Unfortunately, some of the concepts that floated to the top before Marcia left, there's just, those people have changed, committees are disbanded. Marcia, I do not feel there was a real good consensus on an option to move forward. So I think that's where, not having a conversation about it today, but having TAC say, do you feel as TAC that you could be a forum to have the conversation about what would be good signage, and have that public forum, and then move forward? Your role would be to make a recommendation to the town manager and possibly the select board to have signage put in the park. I have CPA funding to actually implement that signage. That's where I see this committee can take a positive role in guiding the conversation. And that's where I think, to your point, Mark, that's what I think this committee does, guides the conversation and then makes the recommendation to, the appropriate entity to move things forward.
So
And-
Ken-
Go ahead.
does that mean that a long-term plan to separate the bikes versus the pedestrians is a done deal?
God, no,
Okay, all right.
no,
So
no.
this is, you're just saying, right now, it's on the table is signage, and we could address that. We could productively address, we could help by addressing that.
So, but even, even the idea of a split path, I think there was consensus on that option, looking, moving forward with looking at that option in a more, concrete way. You don't do that until I get MBTA says, yes, we'll agree to be a partner in that. There's absolutely no reason for me to spend any money to have somebody assist with designing how a split path might work.
Okay,
If the MBTA
right.
doesn't say, yes, we'll be a partner to that conversation.
Okay.
So that's what I've been working on. Is getting somebody to say, yes, we'll agree to be a partner to that conversation.
What's your sense of the likelihood of succeeding in getting them to the table to talk about it?
Let me work my current angle and I'll be able to give the committee an update. Hopefully at your next meeting.
Okay.
Are they motivated by the fact that there's been a fatality there? I mean, does that,
Two.
too,
Yeah.
Fatality in
at the crossing area? You know,
so there's a difference, whether we're talking the actual physical crossing of Main Street.
no, I'm talking
No.
at the tracks.
Oh, at the tracks.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, because, of the physical crossing at the tracks. That's a separate issue, because, the bike and the pedestrian is separated, the crossings are separated, there's been, I'm not aware of any significant accidents within Junction Park.
right. Just the whole area in terms of having their buy-in to, because typically, well, from time to time, they are less than responsive to us because, we're not the squeaky wheel.
Yeah. I have, Terry,
Yeah.
our,
Terry.
select.
Yeah, quick question,
liaison,
Elizabeth, would it be helpful to involve the select board liaison to the MBTA, who is Mark Howell? I mean, he might be able to contact the director of the MBTA Executive Board, Advisory Board, which is, not that powerful, but would that help?
You know what, Terry, I think at this point, I wanna work my one angle
Sure,
first.
let me know
Um,
if that doesn't work, we'll try that. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah, I'm trying not to get I'm trying to get this from the bottom up. Which is more cooperative, collaborative, but, I will bring that up.
Okay.
I want to thank you. I think that
Yeah.
your approach of doing it stepwise and
Yeah.
is really,
good approach.
because this is so heated, so thank you.
Mhm.
I don't, it's,
Oh, I'm
It's-
just thanking you.
yes, thank you.
How's that?
We're gonna work on this to be a collaborative,
No, I agree, I agree.
definitely a collaborative approach.
Okay, I want to get some different input too, and I see that Barbara Pike, who's with the Regional Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, if I'm correct. Barbara, would you like to contribute something to the conversation here? You're muted.
So it's my understanding that the TAC has actually taken over the role and responsibilities of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee.
No,
No, that is not
No.
correct.
That's not the case?
no,
Oh, I've been misinformed. I've been told that if I have concerns about the rail trail, I should be coming to TAC.
no.
Could someone clarify where I would go with my concerns?
So as far as the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, concerns with that would go to Concord Public Works, Highway and Grounds, who is has taken on the maintenance responsibility.
What was that name?
For the trail?
Yeah. Who, please?
Public Works.
The Concord Public Works, Highway and Grounds.
Oh, Highway and
Okay.
Grounds. Okay,
Yes, so it would be Aaron
Oh, that would be
McCloskey,
Aaron.
who's the Highway and Grounds Superintendent.
okay. My concern has been that there are walk your bike signs posted in Junction Park. A little backstory, unfortunately, Marcia is not with the town and the advisory committee was disbanded, but the advisory committee spent quite a bit of time looking, I mean, a huge amount of time. I was not on the advisory committee at that time. And initially, they thought that the solution would be for trail users to walk their bikes through Junction Park. Well, that was a miserable failure, along with the planters, Elizabeth. And so then the advisory committee voted to rescind that rule. And the town actually created the maps for the rail trail through West Concord on February 2023 with the new rule, which was slow your pace in this special place, not walk your bikes. But the signs are still up, and I think people are widely ignoring it, but anybody who sees it and thinks that people should be walking their bikes when that isn't really the rule, the signs need to change. And the other sign that concerns me is the sign that says bike path. The Brewster Moon Rail Trail is not a bike path. And that big green sign with the arrow directing people to around the restaurant. I mean, if you're gonna work on signs, let's not call it a bike path. It's a multi-use trail. So I would like to see the walk your bike signs removed, and possibly in its place, the recommended slow your pace in this special place. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Terry had her hand up. Okay, Terry's hand is down. I'd like to hear quickly comments from any TAC members. And then I actually have some photographs and slides of some maps that I wanted to, that I think might be useful to share, if people bear with me, because I think they started, as Barbara mentioned, with discussion about a particular sign or just a couple of signs, but there is a complex area there, and there are multiple signs in different nearby places that are involved, and there are places where there's absolutely no signage, where maybe for either direction of users to find their way or for safety concerns in shared areas are lacking. There's also some signs that the MBTA put up. So anyway, but I'd first like to just go around. Do any TAC members have some general comments based on what's been discussed so far? Nick?
Yeah, I owned a business that interacted with the public for over 20 years, and quickly became frustrated with our ability to communicate through the written word and signs to the public. And the more signs you erect and the more different concepts you attempt to communicate, the less likely any of them will be seen. I did like that slow your pace in a special place, because it's different. It's not expected. And some things like that in the written word can work very well, but not if there's a lot of other visual clutter. If there are a lot of other signs, you really have to be, I think, careful. And I'd also make a distinction between erecting signs for the purpose of thinking you're going to change people's behavior as opposed to mollifying a political constituency. Those are two different things.
Thank you. Ellen?
Oh, I guess I appreciate Barbara's comment that it's not a bike path, it's a multi-use path. I guess I would raise the question, and maybe this is just a basic assumption, I'm an economist by training, so I was kind of, what are the assumptions? And I think a big assumption is that the users of the multi-purpose Bruce Run Rail Trail will use the official trail, which is awkward, I admit, going around, Club Car Cafe and then around the loading platform. At least my
Mhm.
experience, I never see people, bikes or pedestrians, who are obviously on the path doing anything but walking straight across. So if we are making the assumption that separating the Bruce Green Rail Trail users from the Junction Park users is going to encourage the use of that official path, I think I'd want to really look at that, because I worry that if we create a separate path, in fact, we might be using real estate that's never used, because bikes might just go, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm being pejorative here, but wheeled users might go straight through, as well as pedestrians who are strolling and wanting to go along the Bruce Rim Rail Trail. So I guess that's a basic concern. I do so agree that there are so many signs at Junction Park that people just go, I'm gonna do whatever, I'm gonna do what I feel personally is safe. And I think that's why people go across the railroad tracks.
Okay. Barbara, would you like to add another comment? You need to unmute. Barbara, do you have your hand up intentionally? Maybe not.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, no, I just didn't unmute, that's all. So
Okay.
the Rail Trail Advisory Committee was trying to address the issue of directing people around the Club Car Cafe rather than going straight across the tracks. And one of the options that was discussed, and then in the process of shutting down the committee and having Marcia leave was completely dropped, was that there were going to be some planters placed not to block the trail, but as a visual, because you can't, I mean, people can walk across the tracks if they choose to, but to put the planters perpendicular to that crossing, not to block it, but just, you know, kind of a visual barrier so that people might be directed. And I think most of our conversation right here is the heading north traffic coming across Main Street, going through Junction Park and crossing the tracks. So that was definitely discussed, and but it was kind of roped in with all the other planters that didn't work. And I think that also, I don't know what the status of that is. Maybe Elizabeth does. Did all the planters get sent back? Elizabeth?
Barbara, I have some pictures I want to, you know, we have some time here. I want to, I'm assuming people, at least the TAC members, don't mind sticking around for a while further. So we have a quorum. I have some pictures and we can get into a little more of that, but on a high level, one of my thoughts regarding signage, well, first of all, I agree with Nick that too much signage is like no signage. And I think also it's, there's Junction Park and there's adjacent areas, and some of the signage that's relevant is outside of Junction Park per se, but it influences things. And people who use the Bruce Rim Rail Trail, especially people who might be coming from a distance away, will have a variety of levels of information about what they're going to encounter when they come to this place for the first time, and different expectations. And so there are people that know all the possible ways through because they've done it many times and interacted with different users, and there are people who this is the first time they're coming through, and so things get a little complicated. With regard to walk your bike or dismount or whatever, my feeling, even though I agree with Nick that slow your pace in this special place is kind of a nice high level, different, interesting thing, I don't think it's very targeted or effective or specific enough. Barbara, I'll show it to Barbara, Pike sent me a picture of a sign in Acton, where, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail runs alongside of a park. Rather than through the middle of it, and it's not a kind of urban pocket park, it's a bigger park, nature area. And the sign that says slow your pace in a special place seems to me to be very appropriate for that area. But, you know, being close to an intersection, there's a lot of signage, there's commercial signage, et cetera. It's a busy place anyway. So, you know, there's a lot of complexity there. To me, if one wanted, one possible way of respecting requests that I've heard from cyclists of different cyclists of saying that, you know, I ride very carefully, I'm very conscientious. It's hard to dismount with, I'm coming with my children, getting them to dismount. If I have a certain type of cargo bike or this or that, it might be hard to dismount. Respecting that, if there was an appropriate place, to me, to have a sign that says, that has a picture of a bicycle and says, go slow or dismount, allows both modes. Something funny happened. Can people still hear me?
Yeah, they'd hear you from the
Nick is
owl.
saying yes.
Okay, okay, good, because I just lost my Zoom connection for some unknown reason. But anyway,
Are you on the guest Wi-Fi?
yes.
Okay.
Gonna give me a better Wi-Fi. The guest Wi-Fi is flaky. It's trying to connect back again. Everybody, hold on a second. It's not really that important. If other people will help me recognize people with their hands up and stuff, I don't really need to be in. That's like well, actually I do because I want to share screen, so I gotta come back on. But anyway, I would think that's something that's recognizes that wheeled users can either traverse slowly and carefully, or alternatively, walk, dismount and walk their bike is a respectful and balanced thing, and I wouldn't want to encourage, you know, one or the other. So that just a thought there. So I'll let other people talk while I try to get back on Zoom. Elizabeth, can you, is there another, something more reliable? Or I can try,
You know, it sounds like
I can try it
I'd like to
again.
see the pictures from Acton when you can do that, but it
Yes.
sounds like that's more of a specifically, it may be going through a park, but it's a rail trail. It's, you know, and Junction Park is just so unique to the extent that
Yeah,
even the share the space with, in this, the share, you know, slow your pace in a special place, it's not directed at the walkers. I mean, it's directed at the cyclists, and I think it's a little bit too
We have no luck.
obscure
We can-
to really have an impact on the cyclists to the degree that, you know, we're trying to get them to slow.
that
I
is
mean,
really
one thing that
strange.
I would love, and this may be, Barbara, you could help me address this, is to understand for this multi-use class to be enjoyable. And Mark brings up a great point for cargo bikes, parenting with children, or people for whom clipping out of or pulling out of the clips is just difficult. How do you get folks to comfortably and happily use the rail trail diversion, I guess I call it, around Club Car and the loading platform? Cause if that can be encouraged and then a sign that's, I don't know, just reinforces that. I mean, I want this to work for everybody. I mean, I just totally agree with that.
It's an unwieldy bicycle. I mean, that
It's so
negotiating
stupid
that
narrow.
turn is just.
Yeah, the
not-
hairpin turn is not,
Yeah.
that was not a design, if you ask me.
I mean, I don't know who designed it, but I mean, I saw a parent with the child trying to negotiate, you know, he had his little boy. And, you know, it was clear he couldn't go along that path, you know, if anybody came in the opposite direction, there's a little kid with him. I mean, it's sort of like safety for all,
Yes, yes,
and
and
not just that, I think also respect for all.
Right.
I mean, you know, I think it's gotta be respectful for people who love, you know, who wanna use this space for all sorts of reasons. And as we're talking about going north, but coming south, I think it's even more difficult. Somebody coming from Lowell would never understand that they had to do this dog leg.
yeah,
So
no,
how
I
do
think
we
it's confusing
reinforce that?
from both directions.
Yeah.
Is there a chance I can,
The only other secure password will only work on town devices.
okay, well, what we want, let me, that is amazing. This never happened before. I'm
Is it
trying
not
once more.
connected?
No, so the town went,
Does it have a time limit or something?
I don't know. The town went through and did a huge network conversion last Friday.
Oh,
Um,
And I'm testing it and finding it.
No, it got- it-
Can't connect, it says.
it got tested last night as well with the same problem.
Okay, now, there's an alternative possibility. Hold on a second.
I
Let's
don't
see.
have my phone, so.
I have my phone, it has the guest, and it's working.
If Mark has something he wants to show, couldn't he just email it to Elizabeth for her to?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll email. I have three small slide decks and I will email them to you. Thank you. That's a good suggestion.
Nick is
I was
just too
gonna-
good.
Can
Yeah.
you,
That's, it's,
can you,
it's,
can
it's,
you email them without Wi-Fi though?
no,
We just give them.
but, well,
Oh, totally lost Wi-Fi? Oh, God.
yeah, hold on a second. That's true. Good catch.
Oh.
What I can do is,
So
if you,
here's
if
my
you
other
don't, if you don't
suggestion.
mind plugging a thumb drive in,
Oh,
I can, walk you through something. on
Okay, what's the
thumb
other
drive.
suggestion?
The other suggestion is to put this together, put this on the agenda. Put what you have together to send to members, have members before your next meeting, go out there. And look at different
Oh.
things,
Mhm.
and then
I
at your
agree.
next meeting, start your signage conversation.
I'd like to be able to do that, but I'd also like to share these. I think it's really important. Because I mean, you'd be surprised how many interesting points there are. So in there, there is.
You know, this is against the rules too.
I completely understand.
You should see the cyber training I have to go
No,
through.
no, you're right.
It makes
as
me
far as-
paranoid at home.
Well, you're right to be paranoid.
Okay, so which
Okay, so there is.
folder did they get put in?
Okay, so there's a thing that says 2409, which is
20
September 24. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And go in there and then there's today's meeting
Uh,
and there are 3 PowerPoints.
uh,
So,
No, oh, there's Junction Park folder.
Junction Park folder, and there should be 3 PowerPoints
Okay.
besides a bunch of other stuff. So you can open any one. We can do it in any order and just flip through them very quick and then we can also distribute these and people can go look themselves. But I spent a little bit of time Monday and Wednesday. And I noticed a number of things that I think would be good to put on the table
Okay,
while we're all here,
Mhm.
if you don't mind. Okay, so if you wanna zoom that up. Okay, so this is interesting. Coming from the south. On the opposite side of Main Street, on the south side of Main Street, there are a number of existing signs. In fact, there are quite a number of existing signs. So this is not in Junction Park, but it is in Concord and it is what trail users coming from the south see. So there's a sign that says bicyclists dismount
That's
bike
tricky, isn't it?
on,
Oh,
the park is across the street. This is the trail coming from the south. And on the ground, there is another green sign. And on the post behind, there's yet another sign. So go to the next slide.
so I also wanna put it out there just for people to think
Sure.
about. There's different requirements for things that are signage in the road right of way, on a public road right of way, and things outside the public road right of way. So
Absolutely.
this white sign, that may be an MTCU.
What?
It's something something transit uniform signage, so
Yes.
There's-
that's a-
there's
Manual for
certain things-
uniform
The
traffic
size of
control
them.
devices.
Road right away.
yeah, that white sign is within the public road right of way. So again, not a transportation engineer. So it's just something to remember that some
Absolutely.
signage, you don't have control over.
Absolutely. And in fact, I mean, we don't have control over anything, but I think that looking comprehend, except our own.
No, I'm just saying,
But-
citizens, whether it's TAC
Yeah.
or any private, there are certain things that
But
none
is
of
it
us have control.
verbiage or is it font size or?
Oh, yeah, it's in everything.
Anyway, what I wanna do.
Color, reflection,
Okay, I don't wanna, so I'm not talking about ownership, but I'm just saying a person using the path coming from the south. Sees that sign on a post, sees this on the ground, right? Pedestrians on walking wheels, that's the same sign, keep going. And redundantly, okay, now that is not like, don't do anything, but it's basically saying use the pedestrian signal for the bicycle, so you see that. And then this is also interesting, a little bit further back, there's sort of a kiosk or covered thing with a sign. And it says Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. And it talks about the history of the railroad. And then it has a map. And if you look at that map, go to the next slide. There's a zoom in of the map and it shows this heavy black line, which is the former railroad, not the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, going straight across the railroad tracks, right through the
Yeah.
park, right
Okay.
through there. Which is kind of dangerous if you ask me, because it's actually encouraging people to say, go straight,
Great bicycle,
right?
path, yeah.
Okay, so that's one note for the record. Okay,
So where is the actual path relative to
Oh,
that solid
sorry.
line? Can you get that?
we'll
Yeah.
get there, we'll get there,
Okay.
it's in one of the other PowerPoints, so go to one of the other two. Thanks, Elizabeth, thank you for pressing your fingers and plugging the thumb drive. Hopefully it'll open up.
Wow.
oh no, it'll open. Mhm. I'm not a touchpad person, so
Okay.
that's all.
So if you can, okay, so this one is just some GIS maps and views. So if you can expand it a little more, is there a full screen thing or is that lower,
No, that's.
lower right? No?
Oh,
Anyway, that's probably good enough. So you can see the magenta line crossing is MBTA, and then you see Commonwealth out in Main Street. And the different kind of parcels and things, go to the
Mhm.
next map. One of this, when you set different layers,
Ah,
you get different things, and in one of the layers anyway, the park is shown, Junction Park is shown in green as, I think recreation land, and this actually has, I'm not sure if it's a recreation layer or whatever, but there's some dotted lines that appear to show the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in blue coming partway from the left and then partway from the bottom and sort of pedestrian paths. I don't think many people look at this, but this is one, there are gates in Junction Park to the left and right to go to the strip mall on the right and the parking lot on the left.
The layers, the red dashed is
That's the trick.
sidewalks
Oh,
Sidewalks, okay, sidewalk center line.
and
type thing.
blue is the rail trail.
Okay, so I'm not critiquing things, I'm just trying to give people perspective.
no.
looks like the hairpin turn is in red.
Yeah, and that's not accurate, that's not
Yeah.
what it really is. So anyway, go to the
So,
next,
No, I'm gonna write down.
okay, all right. Is this, do people agree this is productive?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So the red where it says Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and it curves around and.
Yep.
It goes around the
Yep,
Cat Club car.
Mhm.
What is that curvy line?
This?
The
That
trail,
thing.
so it's an approximation
This
to
blue
what's
trail?
No,
there.
no, not that. I know that one. I meant the one that
This?
goes, yeah, exactly.
That's the existing center line of the sidewalk.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
thanks.
This, yeah, that's in point of fact, what this map kind of shows is there was a sidewalk line and that was patched in for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. So this map is just, what GIS thinks is government controlled land and, it, you know, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt because it probably doesn't tell everything. It shows Junction Park being half one thing and half another, but I, don't really know about that and,
It is.
okay, so, and so anyway, so,
It's half white and half white, the red and the white.
Well, so this has nothing to do with TAC and this
Yes,
has something to
not
do with the
exactly.
GIS conversation
yes,
is, is how you go about with a GIS layer when you have right of ways.
No, right.
Because they're right of ways, they're not parcels. Parcels with defined boundaries, a parcel number, ownership. And the right of ways, so this is something that they've been dealing with.
It's like an easement part. It's related to easements. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, so again, but.
It's
So,
nothing to do with ownership, it has to do with use.
well,
Yes.
but not, so if you look at right here,
mhm.
this has to do with ownership though, because the town doesn't, the state still owns this. You know, the state still owns all of, all of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. The state still owns it.
Hmm.
And so it's not. When it went from a rail, which was a right of way for tracks, to a rail trail, that the GIS hasn't figured out, okay,
Right.
because the assessor doesn't want them to make it a parcel, because then it has a parcel number and it's, so that's
It's complex, but you
That's
know,
a-
let me just make a
Sure,
a
work it
general
out.
comment, at least the way that my mind works. I always want to know more than the absolute minimum to perform a task.
Yeah.
It's good to know how complicated some of this is, and this might come in handy later if there are discussions about actual physical changes. So go to the next map. The next map has a rail trail, a BFRT, recreation layer. And again, I don't think it's exactly accurate the way it curves around the clubhouse, the cafe there and everything. But it generally shows where it is in the park and how, instead of following the old railroad right across the tracks, it curves around and it goes to a little, I don't even know what you call them, but there's a kind of a curve. It's not a spur line, it's something else. It'll show up in another map, but it uses another part of another railroad line to connect back to the trail. So the next slide is from the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail map, and it's a zoom in on the West Concord Center. And it's appropriately for people looking at information about a rail trail, it says Junction Park, slow your pace in this special place. That seems very appropriate for people looking at the map to say, pay attention. It shows Junction Park as just the right half strip, not the entire strip where you're going through. And it shows the wiggliness, maybe not exactly right, but it does show some of the fact that, somebody cycling from the south, having looked at this map, said, "Well, this is going to be kind of complicated. I have a heads up that this may not be straightforward, go straight through." You see the curved part just to the left and a little bit below the Junction Park balloon. That curved part is part of a right of way of one of these curved lines that connected train switching from one line to the other in the old
Oh.
days. There must have been a lot of switchmen there in the old days, because there was even apparently there was even a turntable for turning trains around.
Yeah.
Go to the next
The
one.
problem with that one though,
Oh,
is that it doesn't show the train going through the park, it doesn't show a shared use of the park. The
No,
park
it
is
doesn't.
Separate and distinct.
Yeah, okay, it's usually.
Could I
Barbara
just
has
clarify
her
one
hand up,
point?
but-
Could I?
I can't,
This is-
Barbara, do you have a comment? Do you want to comment, Barbara? Go ahead.
Yes, this is not a Friends map. This map was created by
Oh,
the
okay.
town. We printed it and we've been distributing it,
Friends of
but
the Bruce
we didn't
Freeman Rail
create it.
Trail map.
If you scroll
that
down to the
true?
bottom, it was, I forget her name, the woman that worked in the building off of Route 2A in GIS.
This is not a GIS map. This is off
What's
the
site?
website of the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail
We,
Trail.
the Friends did
No, let
not
me-
create the
I
map.
understand what she's saying here. She's saying that they're distributing something, but someone at the GIS
Speaking, I'm sorry.
office
Okay,
put
who
this
is,
Sorry,
together
who
from
is-
GIS
I'm-
data.
okay, Jordan, yes, Jordan, just a minute. Let me recognize you, Jordan Newbold.
Jill
and-
Moonheron.
Oh, who's speaking? I'm sorry.
Jill
Who's speaking?
Moonheron created the map.
Okay.
I'm-
Speaking of-
it's
Okay,
beyond-
anyway,
beyond
we'll
this
pursue,
conversation.
thank you, Barbara, for your comment. We'll pursue information about that
She's not-
offline.
She's not a town employee anymore. She's left. Is that right?
No, she,
Here?
yeah, she only works a couple of days. a
Oh,
week,
okay.
But
Okay, all right, okay, keep.
he's one of the town's GIS analysts.
But I still wonder because this is a inset blown up from a map on the Friends of the Bruce Furman Rail Trail that also has an identical map for the town of Acton. And I'm not sure why Concord would create an Acton map. So anyway, maybe Acton created a map. Go, keep going. Next one, Elizabeth, if you would. I'm not trying to speed it. Okay, so that again is just showing kind of the path through there. And then the next one is some more complicated overlay in showing the park and the ownerships, maybe not too much more informative. And the next one is a very ancient map that shows,
Oh,
this was actually on the wall at the florist in West Concord, I think. But you can see that the intersection had those curved connections in addition to straight through. You know, roads are not drawn very accurately, et cetera. So anyway, nothing much more in this PowerPoint. Go to the next, the third one. Third one has some more pictures. That might be worth thinking about, and then people can go to the, you know, I encourage everybody, go to the site and think about it again. You know, the principle of first do no harm, I think applies to signage. We want to make things better, not worse, and so I think we want to think about all the implications, and as Elizabeth points out, some signs we, you know, may have no jurisdiction over. So this is looking from the Junction Park side, a little bit down Commonwealth Ave, back across Main Street towards the south part of the Spruce String and Rail Trail.
Coming out of Junction Park, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be kind of coming out of Junction Park. And there you can see there's a post on the, couple posts on the left. Go to the next one. Okay, that's, you know, turned around, you're now entering the park and you can see this sign on the right, walk your bike. I'd ask Barbara, is this sign showing up on the right, high up on a post where no cyclists watching the ground would see it? Is this the one that you were saying
The
should be
giraffe
changed?
signs.
It's in the sidewalk. Is that the one that's objectionable to some people?
Well, that one, just the reference to walking a bicycle.
Okay, so any reference to walking a bicycle is something you're requesting a change? But
Well, it
would-
it doesn't seem to be the rule. So,
Understood. So you're saying it doesn't match the rule, whatever the rule was determined, because I don't know. I wasn't following the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee or any related select board decisions over that period of time. But anyway, let's just put some more facts on the ground. So from the front, from Main Street Commonwealth Ave entrance to Junction Park, that sign has a walk your bike on the post, high up. And then on the other side of it, it also same post, and actually, I'm sorry, it isn't in the sidewalk, it's in the park.
Same side.
It says, on the back of it, it says walk your bike also. And the next one is just a close-up of the design of the sign. Which, you know, I mean, if a sign is meant to primarily give information to a cyclist, I do think that the graphic of a bicycle by itself or person on a bicycle can be better than words because it's multilingual and you know, it's graphic, whatever words you put there. Then next slide, going further down the park, if you go straight through the park, you head to the an at-grade railroad, you know, pedestrian, bicycle, wheelchair, whatever crossing to a parking lot. The next picture is a little bit closer in, and you can see that the MBTA has put up two signs, which if you go to the next slide, you can see in greater detail. Look before crossing, walk bicycles across, do not ride over crossing. So this is not the town, this is the MBTA, right in the middle of the MBTA. That's what the MBTA is saying for that crossing. What we might need to consider is I think it's been brought up by a number of people, whether short of somebody coming, reading that sign, or it's in at dawn or dusk or nighttime or something, whether it's too late by the time you see that sign, even, you know, right in the middle of the railroad, to know that maybe you shouldn't be riding across there.
But it does bring up the issue. I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm gonna be, just to clarify, and Elizabeth, that the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee and the Select Board voted not to make the policy walk your bike.
We don't know.
It never, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. So
so-
it's clear here that the MBTA is saying, don't ride over the crossings, and that's,
That they have
you know-
signage that says that. Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
and
and I don't know when that was there. It looks fairly new.
no, but I mean, it does raise the question of that at least is something that the state is saying, don't ride over the railroad tracks.
Some state agency is saying.
But it's
that.
also not part of the
That
path.
sign is recent. I don't know how recent,
Okay,
but
Okay,
it's come up since they paved over the rail track.
okay.
Oh,
They
okay.
redid the road.
Yeah,
Okay.
when they were doing all that work and the wheelchair got stuck
Okay,
in
oh,
the tracks.
okay.
yeah, walk your wheelchair doesn't work, though, does it?
Yeah, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I didn't check if there's signs on the other side, but I hope this is,
Walk it.
I hope this is of interest to people. Go to the next one. So, the next one is, there is to answer Barbara's question, there is a planter at sort of the hairpin corner turn,
Right.
but no matter how you look at it, I didn't see any indication, maybe I missed the sign, there's a sign there that I didn't pay attention to. There's, for a cyclist watching the pavement, there's no indication about how to get from the part on the right back and forth to the part on the left, right? And, you know, maybe a line in the ground or something with nothing else would be one way to do it. I don't know, but,
That's a future conversation,
okay,
Okay.
okay. So go next one, go to the next one.
because
Um,
I will have to leave at 11.
Okay, all right. How much time do we, oh, good, okay, we got plenty of time. There aren't many more slides. So I went there, I realized I didn't have a good picture. I went there Monday, took some pictures. I realized I didn't have a good picture of the railroad crossing, you know, the MBTA signs there. So I went back to do that, and then I noticed that what wasn't there on Monday, but at 11 AM yesterday, there was a sign with a post sticking out from the Club Cafe at height level for a
This is-
cyclist to hit their head on,
Mhm.
saying the cafe is open.
This is also a separate conversation
Yes.
that's not for this committee.
No, but it's in public, this is a public,
I-
it's Mark's public comment to the public. Go to the next one. I'm not saying we
It is-
should
it
take
is-
action.
I will take action. It is
Okay.
not the first.
I just want,
Okay.
and I'm not blaming anybody, I just want, you know, Barbara to know and everybody to know that we care about all users of this area. So then just for reference, this is a sign at Nara Park in Acton, which is a pretty natural open area, far from you know, traffic and railroad and all that.
Is that the Bruce Freeman that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Bruce Freeman, I'm not sure exactly where the sign is, but the Bruce Freeman runs on the east side of this park going.
Yeah,
south
there's a
to
big
north.
turn there where that left spur goes off to the lake.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so there's this sign, but, you know, Dragonfly and everything, and the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail sign, Acton, all that seems very appropriate to me in that area, but could be kind of confusing in Junction Park unless it's somehow adapted. But anyway, Barbara sent me this picture and I
What's
appreciate that.
confusing about it?
Well, I'm just saying that in a place, okay, well, let me just put it this way. It seems to me that in this large nature park, far from other intersections, and this may just the way I read things, it's fairly clear that it would be wheeled users that would be directed to slow their pace. at least it would be, it's because they're the only wheeled users in that area. Whereas if there's a train and the road and all that, and it says slow your pace, anyway, it may have to do with, there's no other signs there, it's the only sign, so
Yeah, I
maybe
think it is the only
connects.
sign.
So, hey, we're talking
It
about.
makes
community.
sense.
What kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would automatically cut and paste this into Junction Park, but I would think about it.
I think the other distinction is that in this location, you're talking about a linear trail. You're just talking
Mhm.
about a linear trail.
Mhm.
And here's a little spur. Junction Park is, you have,
Six.
commuters coming across. You
Yes,
have,
yeah.
you have shoppers, from the sides. You have,
Assisted
You-
living right nearby in the
you-
parking lot.
you have so many, different things, and it isn't linear. So that's why,
Yeah. No, it's why I question the efficacy of the verbiage, please slow your pace in this special place. It works for the rectilinear park that is the Freeman by Narra Park. There, the walkers and everybody else in Junction Park, I mean, that's not directed toward them. That's directed exclusively to the cyclist or wheeled users. And, it just doesn't seem to fully convey the message to me.
And again, I think the fact that it's, if it's the only sign in the area within, 100 feet either way, automatically you pay attention to it. Whereas how many signs do we see in Junction Park and West Concord?
15, 20.
So we should take our time, but I'll let anybody comment if they want. Public, we have Terry Ackerman. Are you still on? Would you like to make a comment? Oh, yes, please, please.
Yes, sorry,
Oh,
I
yes,
did-
Terry.
Okay, yeah, let's-
I didn't get to my mute button fast enough, sorry. I did have a comment on the first set of slides, and you don't need to put it back up again, but just when you're coming from the south and you're about to cross Route 62 there, Main Street, and you see that sign, please walk your bike, and there's a crosswalk right there. Do you think that you're supposed to walk your bike across the crosswalk? And then.
you are supposed to walk your bike across the crosswalk.
Correct. You think that's what the sign is for, and then as soon as you get across the street, your instinct is to get back on the bike, but that's where Junction Park starts. So there's no sign after you get across the street there. People get back on their bikes. And
Wasn't there the walk your bike sign up?
Well, there is that walk your bike sign, very tiny sign way up high on
The
the.
draft sign.
Yeah.
I'm
Is
not sure it's there at all, actually. It's,
It was there Monday.
Elizabeth, would that be subject to the MUFCT regulations?
If it's in the park.
MUTC, something like that. No,
Where-
if it's in the park, no.
Okay.
Okay. Janet, would you, I'm sorry. You're right here.
This is an old map, but then,
So
and this
identify
is
yourself.
where we're gonna put the planters.
Yes, would you identify yourself for the note taker?
I'm sorry?
Your name.
Yeah.
Oh, Cosette Dunn,
Consent, yeah.
131 Ministerial Drive.
There you go.
This is when we were gonna be putting the planters, which did not work. The other suggestion at the time, there's a bio retention area.
Mhm.
One of the things I had suggested for short term as well was just putting a boardwalk over the bio retention, because you need to keep the bio retention. And that could kind of be something that you looked at, but this terrible turn, hairpin turn, you're calling it, really is bad. We've cut back a bunch of bushes there. But and there's lovely pavers. In between the pavers and the bio retention area, there's almost 8 feet there. Which this too, I think, would be a short-term solution. If that were paved, leave the hardscaping. If that part were paved and it went around to this paving. You're right,
Okay.
all of this is pavers, which are lovely, and I really want to keep them. Bob Moran donated those originally when when the park was made, and it has a lovely curve to it. However, if we pave this and take this corner out of the pavers and have that pavement, that visually is gonna show where the trail goes. If you connect the pavement, hardtop pavement, which I wanna keep as much green as possible, but if we have this hardtop, that's a continuation. But, you know, the MBTA put those signs up. It makes a big legal difference for them to put those signs up,
Mhm.
but it shows people you can just go across there with your bikes.
So you think it almost attracts, certain, you know, it attracts attention to the
Bikers
brightest
are just
sign.
gonna go across, which,
Yeah.
yeah. I love bicyclists and bikes, and we've got to think about transportation.
Mhm.
And we have to encourage that as much as possible. That's the shortest distance visually and in a lot of ways, but I think if a short term, if we paved that area, that would help.
Would help,
The,
yeah.
the other thing that it would do is one of the things that people in wheelchairs don't like are these pavers. Because it's hard to go over them with a wheelchair or a walker. And if they had blacktopping, it's gonna be much easier for them to go along.
Well,
with.
these, so a lot of this is beyond the realm of signage, but as Elizabeth said, we're kind of trying to figure out if the MBTA, which would definitely be involved in that area, I believe.
No, that's town property.
No,
No, there's some
No?
no,
MBTA
that's the
there.
other side.
Yeah,
No, this is, no,
Yeah.
this is,
This is all state owned.
yeah,
All the way
there's,
up to here.
there's complicated ownership, of course.
the
But
bio.
I'm gonna apologize because
Okay.
I have a hard stop at 11.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think we can, I think
Okay,
we,
the bio
Elizabeth, you
retention
get my
area is
email?
that the towns.
I'm sorry, Nick, what?
I sent you an email, two of them. It's the second one that you want.
okay. So Elizabeth, what works better for you? And the meeting, and we can have a sub-forum conversation here with a member of the public or,
That's adjourned.
or let it run.
I can transfer host to Nick.
I'm about to leave too.
There's only
Okay,
Janet.
all right.
You can just
Janet.
use Janet.
Let's hear Janet. Let's just hear
No,
Janet.
so Tanya, the fact is that I have to leave, so I'm the host. I would have to,
You have to give the host. duties to someone.
somebody else
Let's get
is gonna-
Janet a minute to
Okay.
speak, please. Janet, please go ahead.
I can be very brief. I just want to say, this has been a very interesting conversation and highlighting a whole lot of problems. I also wanted to say, and where that sign is in Acton by Narrow Park, there are a lot of walkers there. It's not exclusively bicycles. People can park at Narrow Park and they do walk along the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in pretty large numbers, especially at weekends. And there's a sort of awkward corner as you go around to follow the path. The visibility is bad. And if you want to turn left into the park, coming from Concord, you have to be very careful there.
Okay,
That's my comment, but
thank you, Janet.
all right.
Okay, okay, I apologize if anyone else wanted to comment, but we have to adjourn the meeting.
well, I can transfer a host to
Nick has
that laptop if you want. And
Okay, please, yeah. And tell me what to hit to end the recording. I guess we can just, it should be obvious on there, right?
yes,
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's gonna be right down at the,
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
okay. Right,
I
so
can
it's
send you
still
those
recording.
PowerPoints. Okay,
You haven't
yes,
adjourned yet.
the meeting is still going on.
I believe the town does, but I don't know.
All right,
It might be under more.
yeah, I'll find it.
Elizabeth, thank you for attending. You've
Thank
been
you,
a-
Elizabeth.
No,
Thank you.
unless I'm out, I am your dedicated staff
Well,
person.
you were great, thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thanks. Okay, so we're still recording, we can speak a little more if you will.
One question,
About
if I-
next steps or.
well, the question I.
Yeah, I want, the bio retention area, I thought belonged to the town.
Does anybody know?
I don't know, I just, well,
That comes up to, because it's my understanding where all of the town is in charge of and owns all of where the granite goes. And that the granite is at the edge, on the parking lot side, the Woods Hill parking lot side
Mhm.
of Woods Hill Table. So it's my understanding that the town has jurisdiction over that.
Mhm.
There is an area where the pavers are on the paver side and the bioretention area
Mhm.
that is about 8 feet wide.
Mhm.
And if that were, what I'm suggesting is having that paved and paving going around the corner,
Yeah.
like you said, it's visually,
right,
I think, going to be more effective than a sign, because there are so many signs
Mhm.
that give conflicting information. And when you're on a bike, you're probably not gonna take the time to read a sign
No.
in a congested area like
Right.
that.
I don't
We
know.
haven't found that they
I think
work.
this is a good comment. It involves some construction, even if it would be for boardwalk or for whatever. So I think it aligns with what Elizabeth said is not a short-term signage recommendation possibly. If we decide to do that, if we can even think of something that's helpful. But the next step is if we can get MBTA engagement, et cetera, and then staff really has to present, some things to the public, and then money has to be allocated to actually do, an actual engineering design, for any of that. But I've heard from a number of people about how they want to preserve the natural characteristics of this really beautiful park.
Yes.
There's one tree that has grown fairly large that people are concerned.
Right,
Some
and that
plants
doesn't
would
have to
destroy,
leave.
so
Yeah.
there is a kind of an intermediate step beside.
Yes.
Between, I mean, there's a better way of sharing.
Yes,
By making it
Exactly.
easier for cyclists and safer for everybody. I think
Yes.
That could be. right?
accommodating everyone.
Accommodating
Yes,
everybody.
that was my,
As a cyclist, I think you're much more prone to following a visually different surface area than you are.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes,
Is
that's a very good,
that's-
that's a very good
yeah,
point.
that's,
The one downside of the paving though is I think it enables a higher speed too.
not when you gotta make a turn like that.
Yeah.
Well,
That might be a little, and, on the other side of that paved area, after you make that turns into, my understanding, MBTA property. So
Okay.
we can't
Yeah.
put a
Can't do
planter
anything.
there.
Yeah.
If
That we-
there's one person, you Baldino, that would like to make a comment. I would like to make them
Yep.
get in and then we
He's
can come back.
JP, yeah,
Okay,
Junction Park.
Hi,
okay, hello.
Mark
Please state-
Bolino, West
please,
Concord.
sorry.
Yeah, good morning. This is Mark Bolino, West Concord, Crabtree Road. I'm the current JP West Concord Green Thumbs chair.
Okay,
Working with Larry Masland as co-chair. My concern, Cosette, with the paving and any kind of physical path dedicated to faster moving traffic, wheeled traffic, is it's got to be bidirectional, right? There's no indication without separating having two lanes to say, here's faster moving traffic. You need to accommodate on that one path, traffic moving both directions. Now you come to this hairpin turn, you don't see the traffic coming from the other direction, but you have to make that turn. And so the idea that you're following the path, still on your bike, going at a slower pace, trying to encourage that flow, you're going to eventually come to a collision when you make that turn and don't have the visibility into the oncoming traffic coming from, the left. or coming from the right, whatever, you know. So that's my general concern, is that the concept
Right.
of encouraging the flow of traffic on a specific path in the park is going to lead to more collisions than solve them. So that's just a general concern, you know, intuition. I'm a bike rider. If that was me on that bike and I'm imagining going through the park and there's other traffic on that lane coming in the opposite direction, and I have the potential to fall off into the retention area. So there's going to be some sort of safety measures with that. I find it more safe to say, hey, encourage better signage, encourage slow your pace, and I have a wider area for me to choose where I'm going to be on my wheels and move at the right pace to be avoiding and colliding with pedestrian traffic. So those are just some general pros and cons to the idea of a specific path, but it's probably, you know, prudent for the entire advisory committee here to get on a bike or get on some of those wheeled vehicles and try out the ideas and see what we experience, or, you know, invite the public to come in and have some tests to see what works practically. But this is a great discussion. I can't see what a solution really looks like in terms of where we are today. Over.
So Mark, this is Ellen Quackenbush, can I ask you a question? Are you saying that that a separate path, the current path going around Woods Hill Table, kind of by definition is going to be difficult because it's narrow and might encourage collisions, and you'd rather have the whole area of Junction Park be available for people to make a decision about how to pass through?
That's about right. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
definitely not great. I think making a more specific path that still follows the same curve is even more dangerous because of the bidirectional nature.
You know, I guess I would make a public comment or comment as the newest member of the
Yeah,
CAC.
newest member.
That I think it really is important. I know that the Bruce Run Rail Trail Advisory Committee has in its final plan, and Mark, take a look at or I'll send it to you if you know, I'll figure out your email. Has as its final long-term solution, separate paths following around Club Car Cafe and the loading platform. And so maybe there needs to be, I mean, TAC can't decide, but can certainly facilitate a public discussion. And I like your idea of having people try it out. Because I know even walking, I find that unpleasant, and at the same time, how do we make sure Junction Park remains peaceful? It's not simple, and maybe there needs to be more of
You
a
know,
forum.
I'm suggesting this, so we have been studying this. I've been doing it for a long time, but anyway, what I am saying is more of a short term and
Yeah.
not because you need a separate path. You know, that's my feeling. You know, having a separate path go for someone with wheels and a pedestrian is in fact the safest way to go. And I guess, but we can try another sign. Just add another one to the mix. None of them have worked. Maybe we haven't hit the right one yet. If we're gonna have a sign, I think it should be short and sweet. And I would like slow zone. Because it's fewer words. Slow your pace, please slow down. Are very nice. And at some point, I think we've got to be adamant. Clearly, we don't even have a real united rule. Because it can't be enforced.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way to enforce it. The police won't enforce it. No one can enforce it. It's just the way it is. You know, but that's.
Thank you, Cosette, for coming and thanks for.
So is there no final determination in terms of whether, is there no walking through there, or has that not been decided?
I do not know of any decision. I think there were conversations, but I mean, that's, in terms of action, if it's important, we can ask Elizabeth to check whether there was any determination. So why don't we kind of do that? And I'm gonna call the meeting to a close if nobody else wants to speak.
There
Last
was no
chance.
final determination, that is.
Okay, Terry.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Okay, Nick, you wanna have the last word?
Well, yeah, I sent something to Elizabeth. I just wanted to run it by the committee. This is
Okay.
the subheading for that, and it would be for the purpose of discussion among Concord groups concerned with transportation and mobility within the town with the intent of achieving alignment among those groups. Sound
Well,
okay?
this has to do with
It's the
Uh,
mobility,
public transit.
not
Sorry,
this.
yes. I think that's good. Do we want to put anything about sustainability or
Maybe,
anything else? or
No, because we're talking to lots of different groups and
Okay.
you're gonna
All
start
right.
So,
ticking them
but
all off.
maybe just-
Yep.
maybe add alignment of goals.
Well, that's limiting because the document also talks about the characteristics of the transportation. So I'd like to talk to people about both.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
I,
Okay, I
that
think-
was exactly what my original wording was, Ellen, and I changed it because for that.
Okay.
Well, we already approved you doing it and that certainly sounds fine. Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to a close. What is the time? The time is 11:11.
11:11.
Marathon meeting. So call the meeting.
Okay.
Close the meeting.